وَبِاللَّهِ التَّوْفِيقِ. This now brings us to the third of the trials and tribulations that we mentioned, and this is the trial and tribulation of wives and children. Wives and children. This is indicated in the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِنَّ مِنْ أَزْوَاجِكُمْ وَأَوْلَادِكُمْ عَدُوًّا لَكُمْ فَاحْذَرُوهُمْ. O you who believe, indeed in your wives and your children there is an enemy against you. There is an enemy to you. So be cautious and beware of them. Ibn Jarir, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, and remember, as a young adult, you're between 15, 35, 40, you get married, you have children, this applies to you as well. This is not only to your parents, it applies to you as well. So Ibn Jarir, he says, O you who believe, the ayah means, O you who have believed in Allah and His Messenger, indeed in your wives and offspring there is an enemy to you, who will hinder you from the path of Allah, who will make you slow and withhold from obeying Allah. So beware, be cautious that you accept from them what they command you of abandoning disobedience to Allah. Ibn al-Qayyim explains, he says, in this ayah, the enemy that is mentioned here, that is in your wives and children, does not mean the normal meaning that everybody understands, that they hate you, they despise you, that they dislike you, and this is not what is meant. The meaning is that your love of them, you love them to such a degree that love of them is something that prohibits you and withholds you from making hijrah, striving in the path of Allah, learning ilm, giving sadaqah, and all the other various affairs of the religion and the affairs of goodness. And we see that sometimes a wife can be the cause of a man holding back from obedience to his Lord, from keeping the ties of kinship, from respecting and honoring his mother, and so on and so forth. So this is the trial of wives and the trial of offspring. From the trials of offspring, Ibn Jarir, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says that indeed those children which Allah Azza wa Jal has bestowed upon you are a trial and a test to see which of you would fulfill the rights of Allah with respect to them, and which of you would limit himself to His command and His prohibitions regarding them, meaning the children. وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ عِنْدَهُ أَجْرٌ عَظِيمٌ, meaning that you should know that with Allah belongs the greatest of goodness and reward if you are to obey Him with respect to your children, which He has commanded you with and prohibited you with respect to your wealth and your children, by which He is putting you to trial in the life of this world. And likewise, we see Ibn Kathir, he said in another ayah in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تُلْهِكُمْ أَمْوَالُكُمْ وَلَا أَوْلَادُكُمْ عَنْ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَمَنْ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْخَاسِرُونَ. Allah Ta'ala, he says, Ibn Kathir says that Allah Ta'ala, he says to His believing servants that He reminds them often about His remembrance and prohibits them from being occupied by wealth and children that will make them heedless of Him. And He informed them that anyone who is diverted away by the pleasures of the world and its beautifications, away from that which has been created for of obedience to Allah and remembering Him, then he will be from the losers on the day of judgment. He will lose his self, lose his family on the day of judgment. So an example is given here from Nuh alayhi salam, when he said, قَالَ نُوحُ الرَّبِّ إِنَّهُمْ عَصَوْنِي وَاتَّبَعُوا مَنْ لَمْ يَزِدْهُ مَالُهُ وَوَلَدُهُ إِلَّا خَسَارًا. Nuh, he said, O my Lord, these people have disobeyed me, and they followed a person whose wealth and offspring will not increase him except in loss and ruin. At-Tabari, he said, that meaning those people who didn't follow me, instead they followed those people whose wealth is increased, whose children are increased, but it only increased him in loss and ruin and distance from Allah Azza wa Jal. So all of this shows that children, they can be a hindrance to a person from making hijrah, from striving in the path of Allah, from seeking ilm. And from the ways that we see that many people are put to trial by way of the children is that they put the worldly affairs, meaning education, worldly education. You'll see some people that they invest time and effort into the worldly education that they do not invest in terms of removing ignorance from their children in the religious affairs, in the affairs of Tawheed, in the affairs of Ibadah, in the affairs of the things, the obligations which are upon them, Tahara, Salah, the ahkam of fasting. So to such a degree that you will see an individual, his child, he's proud that his child has now become an engineer or an architect or an accountant or this, and you ask him about the rulings of Tahara, the rulings of Salah, and he's jahil. He's jahil. And so this individual has been diverted away from the truth and from his Lord by expending this time and this effort upon his children, yet he neglects that which is more important in terms of the hereafter. So this is another trial which comes to a young adult, because a young adult can get married at 15, 16, 17, 18, he can have children. By the time he's 35, 40, he can even become a grandfather, as we see with many, many people. This applies to you in your shabab, that from the great trials is your wives and your children. And inshallah ta'ala, we'll conclude at this point. We still have one or two more affairs to mention. We'll conclude them in tomorrow's lesson, inshallah ta'ala. But with that, we'll conclude our lesson there today. We discussed the fitna, that fitna is necessary for every single individual. No one escapes fitna. And that some people are put to trial by way of others in different capacities. The scholar, the ignoramus, the rich, the poor, the king, the subject, the leader, the followed, all with each other, the man, the woman, the husband, the wife, children, parents, everyone is put to trial in different ways. We explained what is meant by the word fitna. We gave the definition. We explained the greatest fitna is the fitna of shirk, and then the fitna of women, and then the fitna of wives and children, and we have left the fitna of mal, wealth, and that